This is Kimok 7, episode 20, poker strategy vlog. We stacked some old retirees, so stay tuned for some good stories on how we did it. Thank you for tuning in. Well, let's talk about poker. 3 table, 2-5, whatever it may be. They want to see the flop as cheap as they possibly can. They want to see the flop as cheap as they possibly can. Don't ever forget that when you're sitting down at the table and you're sizing up your opponents. Don't ever forget that when you wake up with a small pocket pair, or an ace-king, or a king-queen, or a king-jack, or a queen-10. I don't want you limping in pots. That's kind of the theme of my point there. If you limp in pots, you're letting everybody get a cheap look at the flop. Don't make it a sissy raise. Recognize the moment you sit down at the table that your table image is being sized up by all the players. A lot of them are employing a lot of the same tactics you are. A lot of them are not, but a lot of them are. And these comments, this conversation extends to a private message that a friend of mine asked me about, and he specifically said, yeah, if I play super tight, I get really bored. And I wrote him a whole long litany about that comment, that, you know, it's your prerogative to play any which way you want. It gets back to what I just said in my other video, that if you want to go there to play a lot of hands and play a lot of action, then go for it. Have fun. Do what you want. We all have our own needs, goals, desires, dreams, blah, blah, blah. I know what I can expect if I play loose. I know what I can expect if I play tight. I keep detailed records of everything I'm doing on an Excel spreadsheet on my desktop, on my computer. Not only my wins and losses, but all my notes on that session. How long the session was, what major hands did I win or lose, the size of those pots, and the type of players I won or lost against. And I'm always looking back at those records as I try and develop as a player. I'm trying to develop. We're all trying to get better as poker players, right? You're either getting better or staying the same or getting worse. You definitely don't want to be getting worse. We all work so hard for the income that we earn. We don't want to be pissing away at the table playing, I don't know, 8-9 offsuit, or overplaying king, queen, or ace, king, which I see every single night. The other night I lost a pretty large pot while holding pocket fours with a guy who had ace king. Just shoved over the top of me out of nowhere on a board that had no face cards. And I called and he hit an ace on the river. You know, stuff like that. Great. I wouldn't have played the hand any differently. He's going to win, let's call it 40% of the time on that, but I'm going to win 60% of the time on that. I know that. He may or may not recognize that or realize it or think about it too often. Who knows? Well, there's my rent for today. Hey, what do you say? I got 200 to play today. We're gonna turn that 200 into 600, right?
1,000.
200 into 600?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Maybe if I put it all on roulette, I will. I had a shitty night last night, but no qualms. I'll take a rack too because I may have to wait, I guess. You know. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Don't worry, I'm only recording below the neck. Unless you want me to record more. Alright, there we go, folks. How's it go? Beat bonus. Well, waiting for a table, number 20 on roulette paid me a nice 60 bucks. We're already ahead. We haven't even sat down at the poker table. What a deal. Where I was last night, you know. I think I won 400, like right on the dot. It's very good. Well, my first hand, I had aces, and the guy called me all the way down, so I won 300 on my third hand. Great session tonight. made up for a lot of last night's losses. So let me go through a couple hands. Literally, when I sat down with 200. You can't sit down with more than 200 at this 1-2 table that I normally go to, casino that is. Let me put it closer. I hope you can hear me loud enough. And there's an older gentleman there with no wedding rings on, which is something you can always look at. You know, if they look, some of your villains or your opponents look like rich, wealthy, retired doctors, lawyers, whatever they may be. This guy met every quality or characteristic that you would look for. Didn't like to fold, raised really light, would always raise if people would flat call to him or check to him. He would just raise consistently and picked up on his patterns right away. Well, within a half hour, I woke up with pocket aces and didn't bet it out too much, just bet it out 10 bucks. You know, long story short, he called me all the way down to the river on a board that had like a king and a jack and some low cards. He never showed his cards, but I think he had like ace king or ace jack or something, but there's no ace on the board. So he just called all the way down and we both ended up all in, and I showed him my aces and he looked really shocked. So I quickly picked 200 off of him within the first half hour. Now let's fast forward 3 hours later, and I'm still rocking at this table tonight. And the same guy, and I watched him for 4 hours. He had to reach in his pocket several times. I'd say he had gone through a good 800 bucks. But he was still picking up some big pots here and there because he would never fold. So he was hitting some wicked rivers and just calling. He's a calling machine and bluffing like crazy. He bluffed me off a couple of hands, I'm pretty sure. And there I was, under the gun, woke up with ace king. So I literally flat called. I just threw out 2 bucks, just knowing what this guy would do. And he was in middle position. He makes it 17. I call. One other guy calls. The flop is ace jack 4. Again, I got ace king. I check it. He bets out 35 bucks. Comes around to me. I make the call. Other guy folds. The turn card comes. It's nothing significant, just a brick of a card. No, actually it was a jack. So now you got 2 jacks on the board and an ace. And he raises again, makes it 55. I call right away. River card comes. He checks it. And I just turn over my ace king just in case he had ace jack. I didn't want to bet that river, and took down that very significant pot. But my point of this video here, and the highlight of this, is always look for not only the fishes at the table, but wealthy fishes. If you start to put that combo together, a fish who is clearly wealthy, clearly money to him doesn't really matter. He kept pulling out $100 chips out of his pocket like his pockets were full of them. That's a table you want to stay at, play really tight, and just wait for some big opportunities to stack them. And boy, oh boy, did I. So at the end of the night, I picked off over 300 off of him and had a huge session tonight. And I think you saw some of it on video, but the woman at the cashier, she's such a bitch. She's the only cashier that tells me to turn off my camera, that she could lose her job. Whereas all the other ones laugh and play along with it. They know that I vlog and blog. I tell them that I do. I'm like, you're gonna be a star on my video. She's like, turn it off, you made me lose my job. Oh, I forgot to mention what the old rich man had in that hand. So I flipped over my ace king. He actually showed his hand. He shows ace 9. And my point of laughing on that is because I saw him playing ace rags earlier in the session. He played it twice. He had won a hand earlier with ace 9, and I just couldn't believe that some of these players were playing ace 6, ace 3, ace 9, all the way down to the river. Like they're all trying to hit 2 pair, or they feel that their ace rags is going to be good enough. And so I felt so comfortable just check calling his raise every time with my sit there and my ace king. I knew he didn't have ace queen. I knew he didn't have ace jack. So when you pick up on those patterns, you just stack someone when you got them all figured out. It's just the best feeling in the world. I was actually just laughing while I was betting. He couldn't tell because he doesn't look up from under his hat, which that's a good point to stress here is, here I got this old, rich, retired guy who's not attempting to get any reads on his opponents. That's really stupid. If he would have ever looked up at me and looked at my face, he would have seen that I was in a good mood. I was confidently calling his bets. I did not look nervous whatsoever. There were lots of tells he may have picked up on if he would actually take a second to just look. When somebody quickly calls your bet, you got to stop and pause for a second before you throw out another bet. What could that person possibly be calling with? Could he have ace king? He never asked himself that question. No, he's just sitting there betting out, in aggressor mode with his foot on the pedal. Don't ever play poker with your foot on the pedal. Stop when somebody is calling significant raises you are putting in. Stop and assess the situation. Look your opponent over. What could he possibly have? Ask yourself that question. Then go ahead and go out and put out your bets if you want to. Or how about checking for a second to see what your villain does? This guy didn't do any of that. And granted, you know what? Maybe he just doesn't care because he's that rich, and he definitely gave off that vibe. And I fucking love a player like that. It's the best. It's great. You wish you could play at a table like that every single night. It's just the best. I have played with him before. And another thing I'll say about this, another player had sat down new at the table, and he started talking about that other guy, saying like that he never bluffs, and be careful of him and stuff. And I just kind of laughed. I didn't want to give him any of the knowledge that I've already picked up on. Why share it with anybody else at the table? Don't let them take the guy's chips. You be the one to take his chips. All right, I'm done ranting. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned anything from this or pick up on any nugget of information that I throw out there that can help you. If you like it, please subscribe, please like, and please share, and please comment. Thank you so much. Kimok 7. Hope.
She who goes to the shop but bringing the grows. Love a man sorrows for the brand. To people, to keep up. To keep my old lady fine.